Hey, what's up you guys? It's me, Eclectic Witch. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make psychic powder. Now, I already have some psychic powder that I make myself for my practice. I've had it for a while, and I like to use it before I do any type of divination work, or if I'm doing any type of readings for other people, or any type of spiritual channelings and whatnot. So I think it's really great to have in your practice, even if you're only doing tarot or oracle for yourself or whatever. Instead of buying your own psychic powder, I think it's cool to make your own stuff for your practice. So I already have some made, but I'm making more for some friends and family. So I'm going to be showing you guys today my recipe on how I like to make psychic powder. Now there's different variations on how you can make it yourself. Don't be afraid to use what's available to you. Don't shy away from using any kitchen herbs or spices, but we're just going to go right into it. So I actually have my pile of stuff I'm going to be using over here. Obviously, since this is a powder recipe, you're not going to be wanting to using like hard resins or anything like that in this recipe. So something you're going to need, obviously, is your collection of herbs. Like I said, you don't want it to be too hard because you're going to be essentially breaking it up in your pestle and mortar. And I'm going to be telling you guys step by step on how to do this. So first, we're going to start with grinding up the herbs that you're going to use. I have a bit here I'm going to use because this is what I've used prior and what I found works best for me. So what you're going to do first is you're going to take your pestle mortar, and the first herb I'm going to use is these dried up rose petals I saved up in the beginning of this spring. So what I'm going to do is, if you're using dried leaves or flowers in your recipe like I am, you're going to want to take them in your hands and just tear them up slowly into your pestle mortar like this. I wish, maybe I should stand it up. Well, no, I'm going to use that. Okay, so you're going to be breaking them up like this. And after we're done bringing up all of the herbs and grind them down stuff, then we're going to bless them. But first, I'm going to be using rose petals to promote loving energies. It's also connected with the goddess and peace, and we definitely want that in our psychic powder. Because when basically all the herbs I'm using in this powder promotes either the third eye, so that helps with your psychic abilities, promoting love, peace, tranquility within you, as well as protection and other stuff like that, wish fulfillment. So those are the type of categories I'm looking for herbs to put into this recipe. So I'm just going to keep breaking this down. It could take a while, so just be patient. And when you are breaking them down your pestle mortar, go clockwise, because you're bringing those energies toward you. If you were to grind it the opposite way, counterclockwise, then you're doing a form of banishing in your magic. So make sure you're going clockwise. Okay, so I like how that goes. So I'm going to be putting the rose petals in my bowl I have here. Okay, so the next herb I'm going to be using is catnip. This is also connected with the goddess. It's good for love spells. It connects you to Venus, beauty. And I want to promote those living energies, because sometimes when you're doing readings, you could be really burnt out, or you can just simply just want more positivity, for your readings, because sometimes everyday mundane can be stressful. So I like to use loving herbs like rose and catnip for that reason, just so I'm in a positive state of mind, and I'm bringing forth loving energies into myself and into my readings. So like I said, I'm going clockwise. I hope this isn't too loud for you guys. And you just want to grind that up just until you feel that it's good enough for your powdered form. So I'm going to take that, put it into my bowl. The next herb I'm going to be using is lavender. I love using lavender. You can use lavender oil or dried up lavender like I am. I like to put a good amount of this in there because this is psychic powder. It can be overwhelming at times, but I like to stimulate my third eye the best with lavender. So I ran out of lavender oil, so I'm just going to break up what I have here in dried up form. I love the smell of lavender. It instantly awakens my mind's eye. Okay, so I think that's good. I'll pour that in there. Next, I'm going to be using ground cinnamon. I do have, yeah, I'm going to be using ground cinnamon. Because it's already in powdered form, you don't have to put in your pestle mortar, but I'm just going to put in my pestle mortar for, just so all my herbs had my energy going into this recipe. I like using cinnamon for success and also bringing stimulation into the recipe. Brings about success and boosting properties and speeding things up. So I'm going to take that to there. Okay, now I'm going to be using ground sage. I do have an actual sage wand bundle that I used up, but that takes longer to grind up. So I'm going to be using the kitchen spice sage, which works just as well that I've noticed. So like I said, don't shy away from your kitchen herbs because they're cheaper and you typically have more access to them in the store, you know. So this one is already ground up. It's more like a powder essentially, but I like to put my energies into it. Okay, now I'm going to be using eucalyptus. Now this is good for protection, purification, promoting health, repelling enemies, protection from crossing and warding the evil eye. So for all those reasons, I'm going to be putting eucalyptus in my psychic powder. So I'm just going to grind that up as well. And have fun with this, you know, like I always love making my own type of powders or salves or oils and stuff like that. And this is a fun time for witches, you know, especially if you're going to be using it all the time in your practice. Because I love using psychic powder, and I will show you guys how to use it when it's all finished. So, putting that in there. I'm going to be using blessed thistle just simply for blessings. Get some of that in my pestle mortar. And I will be listing in the description box all the herbs and stuff I've used. And like I said, feel free to use what you have available to you. You basically just want to bring about promoting mental clarity, peace, tranquility, loving energy, success, and stimulating your third eye. And you can also look up, you know, herbs that is good for psychic stimulation as well, or psychic development. I just prefer to make my own stuff than to buy it, because if I'm using it all the time, I might as well learn how to use it, because I'm going to be into spending a boatload of money. So, okay. These herbs smell so good. Okay. Next, now this is a resin, which is a no-no, but I like using Myrrh because it opens doors, it helps you with conjuring spirits, so more like for mediumship. So I'm going to be taking the bigger pieces of this and grinding them up, but I do like using Myrrh. But if you can, pick herbs that are not going to be too hard for you to grind up, because this is a powdered recipe. And I like to buy my herbs from either the grocery store or going to local metaphysical shops that I have in town. So now, because this is essentially a resin, I do have to hit the bottom like this to kind of help break it up a bit. And then I continue going clockwise. So I bet this will be faster if I had a bigger pestle mortar. This is what I had in the beginning of my practice, and I used it all the time, so I didn't think much of it. But now that I'm making a lot more stuff, definitely opt for the bigger pestle mortar, because now I need a bigger one. If I get a new one, I might give this one away on my channel later on this year, but I need to replace it first before I can give it away. So, okay. Well, that's good. So, next I'm going to be using rosemary. Now, if for you newbies who don't know, rosemary is literally one of those herbs that you can replace any other herb. Like, it's a good herb substitute for most herbs. So I'm going to be using this rosemary specifically for psychic stimulation. But rosemary is good for so many properties. I do have many herbal books, but this is one of those herbs that I like to put in abundance, like my lavender. So, okay. I actually dried up this lavender. My boyfriend brought some rosemary, and then I dried it in the oven. And it smelled so good in the house when I did too. Woo. I think that's my favorite thing about summer and spring, is that when all the flowers and herbs are blooming and stuff, you could just, you know, wait for them to bloom and whatnot, and then you could dry them out for all year's use, which is what I like to do once you start being able to recognize all the herbs around you growing in your community and their properties. But I like to dry my herbs either by sun or by the oven, depending on the quantity and how soon I need to use it. Okay, so I got my rosemary. Now this is my last herb. I still have an oil in the base for this powder, but I like to use bay leaves for psychic powers, psychic development, wish fulfillment, mediumship, for the other side. So I'm going to be using 3 for mind, body, and spirit, or for the maiden, mother, and crone. So because these are leaves, you're going to have to break them down physically, breaking them apart, and then you'll grind them up. Okay. Okay. Oh, another tip, you guys, when you're making your witchy crafts or whatever for your practice, try not to use plastic if you can. I'm using a ceramic bowl for, you know, making my powder, and then my pestle mortar, you know, obviously is not plastic. But, you know, try not to use plastic because it's not organic. It's not, you know, as free-flowing energy as ceramic or glass or other materials. Okay, so I think that's okay. So now, but I have another oil. This is, I like to use peppermint oil for my psychic development because peppermint is good for bringing about mental clarity, and it kind of like wakes you up even when you just smell it, and it just boosts, it just gives me a boost along, like I like using peppermint, lavender together because I found that to be the best combination. But first, before you put the oils in, put the base, and the base of this powder for me is going to be cornstarch. Now if you're allergic to cornstarch, maybe you could look into using a type of flour, maybe like rice flour, because rice brings about abundance, prosperity. So I'm just eyeballing this. This measuring cup is half a cup, but I did use a lot of herbs in this, so obviously you want to have more, well, you want it to be equal to the amount of herbs that you used. So the ratio for your base with your herbs should be like half and half or close to it. Like you don't want more of your base than the herbs, because you want it to blend well. I think that's the last of this cornstarch. So now I'm going to infuse the peppermint essential oil. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm just gonna eyeball this. That looks good. That was probably like 8 to 12 drops. I dropped it. Hold on a second. Okay. So now that I have all my herbs and my oil in there, now I'm going to take a wooden spoon. So hold on. Okay. Wooden spoon. I didn't have a smaller one, so okay. So we're going to stir this clockwise for promoting abundance and manifestation, because that's what we're doing. Oh my gosh, this smells so good, you guys. So yeah, so I'm making this powder for some friends because Maybone and Samhain, so the fall, autumn equinox, and Halloween are coming up, and I want to have a nice fresh batch for my friends who want to partake in their psychic abilities and communicating with their ancestors and other spirits from the other side, whatnot. So, and plus it's just a nice gift to have, like, hey, I've made you the psychic powder. I use it a lot, and I want you to have your own too. So, okay. Now that that's freshly made, I'm going to go back to the one I've made previously to show you guys how you use your psychic powder. Okay, so this is the psychic powder I've made before. It's still very potent. I used probably a little more herbs than I did before, but this is what I had available. And it's so potent, just by smelling it, it gives me like a whew, running to my third eye. So what you do is you take your psychic powder. I'm using a Ziploc bag because I didn't have any more small, tiny glass containers like this. So what you do is you pinch it a little off, rub it on your fingers, and I like to rub it on my third eye in a clockwise circle to promote your psychic abilities. And then I'll just rub it until the marking is gone, so it's absorbed in and I'm not looking like crazy. So you can also, you know, if you want to, you could put it on the sides of your neck or on your wrist right here, your minor chakra points, but I like to do it best right here. And then I'll go into my psychic readings or my mediumship, spiritual channelings, or I'll do some type of divination. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to list everything I've used in the description box below, and thank you for watching. Blessed be.